Thank you for plugging into this Family Life News podcast, streaming issues-driven, family-focused news.
Welcome back to another edition of Real Answers with Christopher Anderson. Wednesdays during the Noon Report, we tackle the tough topics facing today's families with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson. And Chris, I think that based on the title of today's segment, we're comparing ourselves to cars.
That's a good way to put it. Yes, we are. We are, Brandon. Now, it's been, 6 to 7 months here now since we've all entered this weird twilight zone called the COVID era, if you will. And we're about to enter a heated political season. I would say we're already in there, Brandon. So just like a vehicle approaching wintertime, we want to make sure that we're all in good operating order in order to handle these current conditions and the upcoming challenges that we've got with the election.
Yeah, I think that's a good visual for people for sure, Chris.
Yeah, definitely. So let's begin by looking at the current situation, and we want to encourage folks to take a self-assessment. Look at several areas of your life just to get a good idea of how you're handling the challenges with this COVID virus situation. Then also look at areas such as your physical health, your spiritual health, social health. All these areas require some attention, and they're not mutually exclusive of each other either, Brandon. They impact each other, and I'll give you an example here. If you're not plugged into, and now, Brandon, I know you've heard me say this before, into this all-important support system, including a healthy church body, maybe a small group fellowship, and having 1 to 2 very close confidants, mentors, or disciplers, whichever term you want to use, then you're more likely to experience reduced hope and potential mental health challenges. So that support system is so critical at any time of challenge, especially with Christians, because we also know that persecution, obviously we're not as bad as other countries. I think, as a Christian in this world, we're starting to feel the heat even here in the United States.
And Chris, if I were to guess, this would also impact your physical health too.
Definitely. Good physical health practices are often difficult to maintain, but especially so when we're feeling down, hopeless, depressed. When you're depressed, it's difficult to take good care of yourself. But think about exercise and good, healthy eating habits. They're many times the first things to go when we're feeling depressed. So maintaining a strong social support network where we can plug in is to serve others is so vital because it keeps our spirits lifted. Giving back in a serving role also then helps to lift our spirits up so that then we take better care of ourselves physically as well.
Well, with respect to the current situation with those COVID changes to our lifestyles, what would you suggest we do to remedy these areas if needed?
Well, first of all, Brandon, if someone's feeling depressed or you're experiencing high levels of stress that is connected to this current situation, don't hesitate to tell somebody. Draw on the resources that are available to you through your church or other ministries. Don't try to push on through it by yourself. This is definitely really important for single-parent households because I think single parents, again, have a tremendous amount of additional pressures because they're trying to do everything themselves. But, of course, consistent time with God and prayer and study is extremely vital as well, and probably one of the most vital things we can do. But having somebody with whom you can check in with on a routine basis can be very helpful in continuing to push through these unusual times. So utilize Zoom calling, FaceTiming, whatever electronic resources might be available to you to keep plugged in with friends, both near and far. But keeping and developing a strong Paul/Timothy relationship with someone will be very vital in pushing through these times as well.
You mentioned the upcoming political winter, if you will, going back to the car analogy. You have some suggestions for maintaining during the very heated political season?
Yeah. I don't think anybody would disagree that it's going to be a bumpy ride for sure. I suggest the first thing is to limit your exposure to sensationalized media. And I think pretty much any of the big mainstream media outlets can be considered sensationalized at this point. The big networks are stirring emotion, and honestly, as a nation, we're having a hard time separating fact from fiction, as well as emotion from issues. A constant stream of talking opinionists in the media is not healthy. The reality is that the news headlines, by and large, don't really change much from the morning to the evening. So turn off your phone notifications, especially when it comes to social media and mainstream media. A second suggestion is resolve to keep your social media interactions positive. And Brandon, I'll tell you, I'm definitely guilty of being overly political at times, and I'm definitely going to focus on myself on this one this year for sure, to be more of a light. But remember, it's many times what's being said as much as how we're saying it. So we got to watch out for those, we'll call them the passive-aggressive little digs at the opposite political party, whichever side we see ourselves on. This is so easy to do on social media. So avoid heavy political debates via text and posting. If you want to have political discussions, invite people you disagree with to a cup of coffee and discuss in person as opposed to doing anything on electronics. So much can be taken out of context, and I'll tell you what, Brandon, this one in particular, the misuse of social media, is the cause of so much of the turmoil we're seeing today.
Yeah, such a good point there, Chris. Once again, you've been listening to another edition of Real Answers with Christopher Anderson. It airs Wednesdays during the Noon Report. We tackle the tough topics facing today's families with Christian counselor Christopher Anderson.